Best of R / Tales from Retail episode 81. Subscribe for edit videos daily. I'm on mobile, so apologies for any formatting issues. I work at a retail store which sells adult items. This means lots of great stories, and occasionally a few nut jobs, but all in all it's a fun job that I really enjoy. As I'm sure you can understand, we have a no returns policy, although items which have been deemed mechanically faulty have a warranty on them and can be exchanged if they have not been intentionally damaged. Of course, as with any retail setting, there are still customers who will try their luck. You all know the ones I mean. So, this lady comes in with a toy which she purchased a year ago which she claims has broken, not through any fault of her own, and we have to give her an immediate refund. This raises red flags, so we tell her that we will need to assess the item first to make sure it is a mechanical fault and has not broken through improper use. This is obviously not good enough. She is not happy and decides to threaten us by saying that if she does not get issued an immediate refund, she will be taking to social media to make a post about how terrible we are as a business and how awfully she has been treated. Now maybe this has worked for her before, but in this setting that is the funniest threat I have ever heard in my life. You want to make a post about how we won't take back your year-old, used adult toy, and you think that social media will react positively to you? Incredible. Needless to say, this threat did little to convince us, and she did not get a refund. I don't think she ever made a post, but I sure wish I could have seen it. Thank you. Next. This will be long, I'm sorry. I work behind the return desk at a decently large retail store. I deal with every type of customer imaginable. The kind ones, the rude ones, and the especially rude ones. It was 2-3 weeks ago when one of those especially rude customers rolled in with a return. Multiple returns, rather. Right off the bat, I knew I was in for a treat. I was in the process of reticketing items previously returned on my desk, leaving little to no space for any more items on said desk. That's when this customer comes and slams her bag of returns right on top of everything I was working on, including our expensive machines. Machines remain okay, BTW, no greeting said, just returns. I muster up the tightest smile possible and slowly remove my own work elsewhere and begin opening a computer for the return. I then ask the basics. Do you have a receipt? Nope. What about the form of payment used to purchase these items? Nope. I then tell her that I'll begin a receipt lookup in hopes of finding proof of these purchases so she can receive the full amount back for them. I start asking for her phone number in hopes that it's linked to our rewards system, which would make the search easier. This is where she loses her patience. Just as I'm about to ask when these items were purchased, she goes off. Why don't you just scan the items? Scanning them should bring up my receipt. I tell her no, that's not how purchases from our store name work. She rolls her eyes at me and laughs. You just don't want to do it. Every other store does it for me. Stop making this difficult. I explain as calmly as possible that it's not possible to pull a receipt just from scanning a barcode from the items bought. We need a specified date when bought, and either a phone number, email, or form of payment used in said purchase tagged along with an item ID. Not just the item ID alone. That's literally useless. She gives me attitude for another few minutes as I go back months and months in an attempt to find her receipt to these items. But alas, she had to make yet another comment about my work. This shouldn't be as difficult as you're making it out to be, she angrily stated as she tried tilting the computer monitor so she could get a look at what I was doing from behind the desk. Not allowed. I quickly stopped her movements, wanting to protect our property, and snapped. It becomes difficult when you come in here empty-handed and impatient. She didn't say much after that. 5 more minutes of desperately searching. She gave up. She grabbed her unreturned items and thanked me for nothing. I smiled and told her to have a great rest of her day, to which she said fuck you to me and left. A coworker was quick to fill me in on previous encounters she had with that same customer. Apparently, she's known for being the worst of the worst. Thrives off of it, even. Today, Sunday, God's day, this devil of a woman returned. With more returns. My coworkers and I were already pretty busy as is, but I made it a priority to take care of this red-horned woman despite it. I make room on our desk for her, and beckon her up. She has attitude right off the bat. I'm here to return items. And hopefully this time you'll actually return them instead of bullshitting me like my last visit. I grinned and told her I remembered her and hoped she was doing well. She ignored it and beckoned to her items. I searched the bag she provided for a receipt, and what do you know? She didn't have one. Nor did she have the form of payment used to purchase them with. Cue deja vu. Despite the previous interaction, she still couldn't handle the questions I had next. Dates, email, phone number, anything to help. She still didn't get it. Still didn't appreciate my efforts to find her bloody receipt. I never have issues with this stuff. Not from any other. This specific store is beyond terrible with its customer service. You should be ashamed with how you treated me. To her lack of knowledge, a manager had been watching the interaction from the start, as she was familiar with the customer herself. My manager swooped in after that statement, sweetened the customer up a bit, and somehow got a brand new phone number out of her, one that this customer never provided me with, in which helped find the receipt just like that. Her items matched with the receipt found and she was credited a whopping $195 to her card. I would think she would be happy that the issue was solved, but unfortunately, She began asking my manager why our systems were so flawed, and why it takes so many steps for a receipt to be found. My manager explained our policies regarding the subject and the devil woman left without another word spoken. I never ever get rude with customers like I got with this woman. Even ones that talk to me with serious attitude. This one crossed a ridiculous amount of lines, from nearly ruining our printing machines, touching our property without permission, showing impatience, and being overall rude to me despite my long efforts to retrieve her receipt. I felt defeated. Returns without any proof of a purchase are hard. Beyond hard, sometimes. But we like to go the extra mile in an attempt to find them for customers. Nobody wants to go home without their money back. We know this. We try to help. We really do. I wish more people could sense this. Thank you. Next. Edit. Adding context. Context. I work as a volunteer at a thrift shop. All of our proceeds go to a charity called the MCC, who use the money to help the people in third world countries. We take cash, debit, and checks. If I am given a debit card that is not signed on the back, my manager says that I have to ask for it. We also ask for it when given a check. On our furniture items, we have a double tag that has the price on it. The customer is supposed to take off the top white tag and leave on the yellow tag so they can just bring the tag up and I can ring them up before radioing the workers in the furniture section to bring the item to their vehicle. There is also a third tag that it put on separately and is there for legal reasons. It is not to be taken off by anyone except for the customer after they have purchased it. So this group with a baby walk up wheeling a wheelchair before handing me a furniture tag. They had taken both parts of the tag off. I reminded them that next time they should only take off the white one and not the yellow one, as that's proof that it is in fact that item's price. The lady who was paying huffed and rolled her eyes before handing me a third tag that was a notice to not take off unless you have purchased it before saying you want this one too. I'm sitting here thinking, lady, how dumb are you? I sigh and move on to the pricing. She hands me her debit card and I check to see if it was signed. It wasn't. So I asked for her ID. She sarcastically asked if I wanted a birth certificate too. I explained that we ask for it when it's not signed on the back. She then proceeds to loudly ask who the hell signs their cards. I don't. Then she showed me her ID. I swipe the card and the machine beeps at me. I had to swipe it 20 different ways before it finally worked. I had to swipe it very slowly backwards after fixing where it had a crease over the scanner bar. She finally leaves after I do the receipt, and only after I had finished helping the next customer did I realize I forgot to ask if she had one of our customer appreciation cards. She would have gotten 2 stamps on it for how much she spent. Oh well. Thank you. Next. I work at a very large grocery store chain. About a year ago, I was running a register and a guy hops in line with about 30 cases of soda. Once I get done scanning all that soda, I ask him if he's got a store card so he could get the sale price of the soda. Well, he said he didn't have one, so I decided to scan the store's card because I wasn't going to let the man pay that much money for soda. It ended up saving him like $60 or something stupid like that. Well, after he pays for it, he realizes that he got the sale price and started scolding me. Apparently my manager had convinced him to buy all that soda at full price. I tried to tell him to not worry about it and just take the sale price. Well, he was not happy with that, so he took his soda out to his car and came back and bought 30 more cases of soda at full price this time. And the man gave me the nastiest attitude as I was checking him out for the second time. Afterwards I asked my manager how he managed to convince that guy so well to buy soda at full price. Well, it turns out my manager had told the guy we wouldn't sell it to him for sale price if he bought that much, so the guy insisted on buying it for full price. Thank you. Next. So this one takes place in the early 10s. I, freshly graduated from college, have used my new degree to land me a sweet job at the local hardware store making paint. I had all the training on how to recognize theft and how to properly handle those situations per company policy. The day is Monday, which is important because it is a school day. Around 2 p.m. a trio of kids show up. The oldest is maybe 14-15 and the youngest is no more than 11. All three have backpacks, and there is no adult supervision in sight. They all gather in front of my paint counter and nod to each other in a manner I can only describe with the phrase "commence the operation." After that, each kid disappears down one of the 3 aisles of the paint department. The oldest shortly calls me over. His backpack is gone, and he is standing in front of a display for deck resurfacing and restoration paint. The kid then proceeds to ask a long line of questions regarding the deck restoration process. He claims to need to restore an 800 square featuring deck. Okay, that will clock in at roughly $650 of paint and paint accessories. The kid is undaunted by this and keeps going. His questions are all rather well thought out and concern proper weather conditions for painting, what kind of brushes and such to use, and what colors are available. By now I have used my handy dandy store phone to silently summon our loss prevention officer. He is dressed in plain clothes, and grabs a brochure half an aisle down. After I ask if the kid's 2 younger brothers will be helping him paint his $600 deck, loss prevention puts 2 and 2 together, and goes child hunting. He heads towards the spray paint, which we have a policy of not selling to anyone under 18. After a while passes, deck kid gets a phone call. Without looking at it, he pulls out his phone, sends it to voicemail, and then happily says he will be back tomorrow with more accurate deck measurements and a color choice. All 3 kids converge back at the paint bay. The second youngest returns the oldest's backpack to him, and all 3 head towards the cash registers. Loss prevention motions for me to follow, and we follow the kids up front. The store owner is waiting up front. Each kid selects a candy bar and soda, and the oldest pays for all in cash. They then go to leave. Our store manager politely asks if they will come with him, which they are not in any way obligated to, and follow. With LP and I behind them, the kids are now looking at the GM from across his office desk. He calmly explains that he was informed that they may have almost walked out of the store with something they had not paid for, and politely asks them to empty their backpacks. With a sigh of defeat, each kid does so. Paint sticks. Each bag is filled to the brim with paint stir sticks. The kids had managed to grab one of the mega boxes of sticks we keep in the paint bay, and had filled their backpacks. The GM is at a loss for words. I am at a loss for words. LP thinks it's funny as hell. The GM just mentions that we would have given them the sticks for free if they had asked, and shoos them out of his office. No parents are called, and the kids run off down the road in the direction of the local middle school. TLDR. 3 kids skip school and try to steal a bunch of stuff we give out for free. Thank you. Next. TLDR at the bottom. When I worked at a dry cleaners, I had a guy, a Kyle, call in and say that he's missing some clothes. That's a bad thing to happen, but it happens often and we have ways to fix it. So I got his phone number and looked into his account and see that everything was picked up. I let him know this and tell him, I'll look at the camera. I get that info and go to the camera. Yay, I helped him before. I look in the camera and I definitely scanned and handed him everything. He didn't leave anything behind. Weird. I print out the details of each bag. 5 per bag and he had like 7 bags. I looked at when he originally dropped off his clothes and see that the details are correct and he definitely picked up everything he brought in. So now, I'm confused. I get the phone, and I ask him what the garment was and he says it and I looked at the camera and see no such thing. It was like a blue hoodie and I think a brand shirt or something. but very different from everything else. So I tell him, I don't see anything you dropped off that matches your description. He was suddenly mad and yelling at me, "Are you calling me a liar?" And that he knows very well that he dropped it off. I told him that I was looking through the camera and I don't see anything. Then, he angrily says, "I'll be there in 5 minutes with all the clothes I picked up yesterday." Sure enough, he arrives with all of his clothes, and sure enough, I had to help him. My manager liked to hide during crisis and left me to fend for myself. I wasn't even a manager. I got to the computer. He was fuming. He smacked the table like, "Count my damn pieces." Sure enough, it matched the receipts on my computer, and I turned the computer to show him and printed each one to match the numbers. Then, I offered to show him the camera. He agreed. So I write down the times again, and headed to the office with him behind me. I pulled up the drop-off and show him. I even put the printed receipts in the order that are counted on the screen. No missing clothes. Everything was counted correctly. Now, there is no denying that I was telling the truth. This is when my manager decides to make his appearance. My manager just steps to the side, seeing I had taken care of this customer. So he says, "Get that smug smile off your face before I smack you." I'm sorry, sir, for having a permanent smile on my face, apparently, because I wasn't even smiling. I just looked at my manager with a confused glance and he mirrored it. The guy left and I explained everything to him. Then, he laughed about how I was threatened for no reason. All my co-workers know that my face is basically a resting smiley face. Never saw the customer again. Became a joke to my manager. He would always tell me to get that smile off your face or I'll smack you. TLDR. Guy calls dry cleaners. Says he's missing clothes. I tell him he's not. Then, he angrily goes into store. Demands to see cameras. Angry to be proved wrong. Threatens to smack me for smiling when I'm not. Thank you. Next. I'm a cake decorator, so dealing with not so nice customers is what I do. And today I was ready for them, but a woman today really made me mad. She wanted to order a cake out of our cake book. Great. Fine. Sure. I ask her which one. She says Mickey Mouse. Great. That's super easy to order because it's licensed, meaning we can't change anything on it besides adding a name on it. I flip to that page in the book and her face goes sour. I don't like the grass. Can I change that? Me. Unfortunately, Mickey Mouse is a licensed design, so I can't change anything on it. What do you mean you can't change anything? They've done it for me for 20 years. Me. I'm sorry, mom, but I'm here now, and if I change anything I will get a $10,000 fine. See, look, and I proceeded to point to the message in the book that says we can't change designs that are licensed. I don't care about what it says. Can I order from someone else? You're not being helpful. Me. Well, I'm the only one here today and it won't matter if you order from someone else. They'll tell you the same thing. No, they won't, because they've done it for me before. Me. Who did? You must know them personally if they're gonna risk getting a fine that big. You just lost a customer. I'll go somewhere else and they'll do it for me. Me. Okay. I hope you have a better day. And that was that. She didn't get her way and she tried to lie, but it's okay. I still had a great Sunday.